After nearly 3 decades covering the Buffalo Bills, this guy knows what he's talking about. Welcome to Sal Speak, the place to be for hard-hitting analysis from Sal Maiorana of the Democrat and Chronicle.
Hello everyone and welcome to DemocratandChronicle.com and this version of Sal Speak. I am Sal Maiorana and I am downtown live in the studio by myself with the exception of Ginny, my producer. No guest today. Leo Roth is still on the disabled list with his broken leg, and my buddy Mike Catalana had a training session over at the studio at WAM 13, so you get me for the full Sal Speak podcast. And since my name is on it, that's probably not a bad thing. However, I am going to ask today, you guys can all be co-hosts if you want. I would really appreciate firing some questions into DemocratandChronicle.com at our Facebook page, and I'll get to as many as I can. Obviously, it's a big week for the Bills. Patriots week. It's usually not a good week ever for Buffalo since Tom Brady came into the league. Brady will come into Orchard Park on Sunday afternoon, 26-3 as the starting quarterback against the Bills. It is almost unfathomable how much success Brady and the Patriots have had against Buffalo. I'm doing a big story for Sunday's paper, Saturday Digital at the NC website, on how that 2000 draft where Brady was picked in the 6th round, as we all know, I kind of took a fun look back at the 8 players that the Bills picked that year, 6 of whom came before the Patriots picked Tom Brady. So, and I'm not taking shots at the Bills in any way because every other team in the league passed on Brady at least 4 or 5 times. Cleveland passed on him 9 times. Seattle and Pittsburgh 8 each. So the Bills were not alone in 2000 thinking that Tom Brady wasn't going to be much of a quarterback in the NFL. The Patriots, to their credit, although it's an awful lucky pick when you get a guy in the 6th round who becomes the greatest quarterback in history, to their credit, they made the pick and they changed the fortunes of their franchise now for a decade and a half. So, with that backdrop, Patriots are in town. They're 9-2. The Bills are 6-5, 3 games behind in the AFC East. Buffalo really has no chance to win the division. Once again, the Patriots are going to win it for the 14th time, I believe, in the last 16 years. However, with last week's win in Kansas City, the Bills are right there in the wild card picture again. I think last week's game was a big one. We all know. A, it got them to 6-5. B, they beat a team, Kansas City, that they very likely are going to be battling with because I think the Chargers are going to end up winning the AFC West. That's going to knock Kansas City into the wild card race. And now Buffalo has a tiebreaker over the Chiefs. They also have a tiebreaker over the Raiders in the AFC West. The Bills ended up winning 3 or 4 games in that division this year, a division that we all thought would be the best in football, and the Bills won 3 out of 4. So they're at 6-5. They're in the hunt, as we like to say. Even if they lose this game, you can't rule out the Bills' chances for the playoffs. They've given themselves some life by beating Kansas City in a game I didn't think they were going to win. Now they can go beat Miami twice and Indianapolis at home next week. That would be 9 wins. Even if they lost 2 to the Patriots, which they probably are going to do, 9-7 might be good enough to get Buffalo into the playoffs. They will have some good wins on their resume. As I said, some key tiebreakers over AFC West teams. The teams the Bills are going to have to worry about are the Ravens and the Titans. Right now the Titans are in the 5th spot. They're 7-4. The Ravens are tied with Buffalo at 6-5, but Baltimore has a really pretty easy schedule. Their last 5 games, that's very possible. Even though the Ravens looked horrible in beating Houston the other night, and I don't think they're very good, they really do have a favorable schedule. Their toughest game left is against the Steelers, and they could win their other 4. So it's going to be difficult for the Bills. They have to somehow get to 9 wins for sure. And if they could somehow pull a shocker on Sunday afternoon in Orchard Park against the Patriots, you got to like their chances for the first time in 17 years. All right, let's look at the game. Obviously, Buffalo's defense was horrible for 3 consecutive weeks. Historically bad, quite frankly. 135 points allowed was the most ever by the Bills in a 3-game stretch. They got back on the horse last week. Now, granted, it was against Alex Smith and a Chiefs offense that really struggled and has been struggling for the better part of a month. Still, that game was in Arrowhead Stadium. They have a lot of weapons, and the Bills did a great job in their defensive scheme, I thought, against the Chiefs. Now the task gets a little bit harder. Now the best offense in the NFL by yardage and the third best scoring offense in the league comes to town. Tom Brady is playing at the age of 40. It's almost incredible to believe that he's playing as well now as he's ever played in his Hall of Fame career. And his weapons aren't great. They never really have been great during his tenure there, but he is so good at getting the most out of every player on his team that they're just rolling right through. Like I said, they're 9-2. They're cruising. They got off to a slow start. They've corrected their errors, especially on defense, and they're playing as well as any team in the NFL. And you've got to think that between the Patriots, the Steelers, the Eagles, and maybe the Vikings, those are the four best teams in football. Bills have a huge challenge trying to stop Brady, their passing game. Brandon Cooks is a guy, typical New England free agent signing. He really didn't do a whole lot in New Orleans. He comes to the Patriots, and he's a reborn player. Again, playing with the best quarterback in the world helps. But Brandon Cooks has become a major weapon. You could probably make the argument that Brandon Cooks is the best receiver Brady's had maybe since going back to Randy Moss as far as a dynamic threat. Yes, he's got Julian Edelman for what he does. He's a terrific player out for the year right now, but he caught a lot of passes from Brady. But from a pure, dangerous, game-changing kind of guy, Brandon Cooks has been that player for the Patriots this year. It looks like we're not going to see Chris Hogan, the ex-Bill, for the Patriots in their passing game, but I think they're going to be fine without him. New England has run the ball pretty well, even with ex-Bill Mike Gillislee on the bench. Everyone who got up in arms about the Patriots taking Gillislee as a free agent this past year, calm your jets a little bit. He's been a healthy scratch for 3 weeks in a row. So the Patriots, again, offensively, they're a dynamic machine. The Bills' defense, I still don't think is completely fixed. Even though they played better last week in Kansas City, it's going to be a real challenge for Buffalo to keep the Patriots under 30 points in this game. So you go to the flip side. If that's the case, is this Buffalo offense capable of scoring 30 or more to win the game? I really find that hard to believe. Look, they won last week. They scored one touchdown against a defense in Kansas City that really hasn't played well all year. And I think the Chiefs, they played well enough to win. If their offense had done anything, the Chiefs would have won that game. So we can't look at last week's victory and say that the Buffalo offense is all of a sudden fixed. It's not. Tyrod Taylor is the best quarterback on the roster. He's back in there. Smart move by McDermott. But Tyrod played the same game last week that he's played most of his career. Nothing downfield. Everything was a check down. They weren't good on third down. The Chiefs did a pretty good job stopping the Bills' running game, which hurt the Bills because they've got to run it better than they did. And like I said, the Bills played just well enough to win. They scored 16 points. That was enough last week. 16 points won't even come close to being enough against the Patriots. So it's a big, big challenge. I really can't see, even with New England still having a little bit of struggle on defense. They're actually 32nd in the league, dead last against the run. So you look at that matchup, the Bills are a running team. You hope that Buffalo can get something going there. They have to run it well to have any success. So that's the one area I would look at this game and say, hey, if the Bills can run the ball, hold on to the ball, time of possession. It was a big deal last week. They had the ball for 33 minutes. If they can do that and keep Tom Brady off the field, maybe it's a close game. I just don't see it being enough for the Bills to win the game. All right, I asked for some questions on Facebook. I'm going to check right now. I haven't looked yet. I hope we have some because me talking for a half hour is a lot of talking, and I need a little bit of help here. And we do. All right, let's look here. Let's see. Doug Gage says, ha, 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 no. I'm assuming he doesn't want to ask a question, so we'll move on. Ann Chovy says, arch nemesis. I think we titled this, and we called the Patriots, they're the Bills' arch nemesis. Yeah, they really are. But she says, those bums are unworthy of that honor and absolutely do not qualify. To New England, they're more like the football, to be kicked around and thrown around. Ginny, any thoughts on that? Because I have no idea what that means. Ginny is throwing her arms up because she can't figure out what exactly Ann means by that either. All right, you have your answer to why local sports teams are no longer competitive. Rick Chicata. Boy, I should read these questions before I just read them because That didn't make any sense either. Bad podcast, bad show right now. Corey Payne, isn't Brady like 26-3 against the Bills? That is not really a rivalry. Squish the fish. Well, look, they are the rival. They're the Bills' main rival. I know you need two teams to be playing well to have a rivalry, but these guys have been division opponents since 1960. It's a rivalry. It's unfortunate that the Bills have had no luck against the Patriots, but if you link back to the Buffalo Bills Super Bowl days, the Patriots were the Bills' patsy. So rivalries, they ebb and flow. It's just unfortunate for Bills fans that right now the Patriots have completely dominated this rivalry. But don't tell me it's not a rivalry. Ask any Bills player if it's a rivalry, and they'll tell you that it is. It's sort of like the old Miami days. That was a great rivalry back in the day too. But if you recall, in the mid-'90s, early 90s and mid-'90s, Buffalo dominated that rivalry. In the 70s, Miami won 20 games in a row. Still a fierce rivalry. So yes, I do consider them Buffalo's arch nemesis. All right, Michael Williams says the 32 against the run is because everyone else passes so they can catch up. Fair point. The Patriots generally are in the lead in games, and teams have to pass to catch up. But if you looked at their film, especially early in the year, they had a tough time stopping anybody's run game. Teams were piling it up on the Patriots. I don't think this New England defense really is nearly as talented as other defenses that Belichick has had in the past. They missed Dante Hightower, who's their best linebacker. Stephon Gilmore has stepped in and played pretty well after a slow start with the Patriots, so he's helped. But this is not a great New England defense. Again, their offense is so good, they don't need to have a great defense because they just outscore teams every single week. So I understand your point that the run defense is 32nd for one of many reasons, and that's one of them. But I still think if the Bills can get their act together up front on the offensive line and create some space for Shady McCoy, I think he can have a good day. And again, it's going to be so key for the Bills to maintain possession in this game. You just don't want Tom Brady on the field because I really do believe he could have a field day against the Bills defense. You've got to keep him on the sideline. And this is also going to be a day where special teams could come into play. I think the Bills, you need everything working to beat New England. What would really help the Bills this week is for something to happen good on special teams. Maybe a return for a touchdown. Brandon Tate had a nice game last week in Kansas City. He's an expatriate. Wouldn't he love to return a kick for a touchdown if he gets the opportunity in this game? It's a game where the Bills are going to have to get contributions from top to bottom on the roster, and special teams is an area you can look at. Maybe something happens there. The defense that was getting so many takeaways early in the season, they're going to have to do that in this game against Tom Brady. The more short fields the Bills have to operate with, the better chance they have to score points. I just don't know. Again, this offense, this Tyrod Taylor-led offense just is not equipped to go on long time-consuming drives. We know it's a key in this game that they need to do it, but they really haven't shown the ability to do it on a consistent basis. So get a couple turnovers, whether they're fumbles or, hey, maybe you tip a pass at the line that gets picked off. I don't think Brady's going to throw too many interceptions on his own. It might be a tipped ball that the Bills catch a break on. Whatever it is, those are the kind of things that Buffalo will need to have a chance to win the game. So that's one area to look at is special teams. All right, let's see. Let's go back to the questions here. Linda Freeman, you can't beat a team when they cheat. Well, I don't know how much they cheat. Yeah, they've got a reputation, Spygate and all this other stuff, the Deflategate. Look, none of that stuff matters on Sunday afternoon. The Patriots are just the better team, top to bottom. They're not going to be cheating on Sunday. They're going to be the best team out there, and it's incumbent on the Bills to play their best game of the year to get a chance to win. So cheating Patriots, you can hate them all you want. And quite frankly, I'm sick of the Patriots. I really would love to see the Bills knock them down a peg. Remember, the Patriots are in a dogfight for the AFC home field advantage with the Steelers. They're both 9-2. I would love it if the Patriots didn't get home field advantage and, let the Steelers have it and see what happens if those teams end up in the AFC championship game. So the Bills could take a nice big step here and knock them down a peg if they could pull off the win. But again, let's not talk about this Sunday the Patriots cheating, because it's not going to matter in the game. Greg Munson says, in order to win, we need the front seven to get pressure on Brady. Jerry Hughes needs to start earning his money. Absolutely. Jerry Hughes, I think, early in the year, it looked like he was going to have a great year. Back in a 4-3 defense, he seemed really excited about that. He was fired up. He was playing well. And I don't know what's gone on the last 2 months. He just hasn't been all that noticeable. The Bills' pass rush in general has kind of been invisible. And I think teams, Jerry Hughes is their best threat as a pass rusher. He's getting a lot of double teams, and nobody else up front has really stepped up to help him. I mean, right across the line, the tackles, Kyle Williams is not able to get the same push that he once did. Still a really nice player, but let's face it, he's 34 years old. He doesn't have what he used to have. He would be able to, with Marcel Darius, push the pocket once in a while, and that would create opportunities for the ends or the pass rushing linebackers. That really hasn't happened all that much. Darius is gone now, and the guys that have replaced him, Adolphus Washington, DeAndre Coleman, Cedric Thornton, these guys just aren't quality pass rushers, so that's hurting the Bills overall. And on the other side, Shaq Lawson, I think has had a very disappointing season. I expected a lot. He's their first-round pick from 2016, was in a terrible fit defense last year with Rex Ryan. I thought going to the 4-3, just like Jerry Hughes this year, he was going to excel. That's what you want Lawson to be doing. Hand on the ground, go after the quarterback as a 4-3 defensive end, and obviously play against the run. He's played the run fairly well, not so great lately. He was better early in the year, but he's just not getting any pass rush from the outside. So, yeah, you've got to put pressure on Brady, and the key for the Bills, they're going to have to do it with 4 guys, because you really don't want to blitz Tom Brady. There are some ridiculous numbers out there of how Brady has killed teams who blitz him. I mean, the numbers, I can't recite them off the top of my head, but it's almost silly to even try. Your best bet with Brady is to rush 4, cover with 7, and hope you can force him to make a mistake, and, of course, hope that the pressure, if you can get it, can force him to throw it away or check it down or whatever. That's going to be a big, big key for the Bills. I don't know if they're capable of it with 4 men, but I really wouldn't be spending too much time blitzing Tom Brady this week, because I think he could kill you, especially with Buffalo's linebackers. Buffalo's linebackers, they're just not very good. I don't think they're very good in blitz, and I don't think they're very good in pass coverage. So that is going to be a layer of the defense that Brady is probably going to have a lot of fun with this week against the Bills. All right. Let's see. Rudy Zink says, have to manage the clock and have to score 24 points. Yeah, that's kind of the secret. They really do. The Bills need to win time of possession. The only problem with that, too, is the Patriots are so good, they could score very quickly, and time of possession won't even matter. They are adept at going down the field quick and scoring. So even the prediction of 24 points, that might not be enough. I really believe the Bills are going to have to go past 30 if they're going to win the game. I just don't see how the Bills' defense will hold New England under 30, again, unless a lot of crazy things are going to happen Sunday afternoon. All right, Michael Williams says, what do you think about Buffalo going after Eli Manning in the offseason? Good question. As you all know, if you're football fans, the craziest news story of the week came out of New York, where the Giants are going to bench Eli Manning. Really don't understand the move. I get that they're 2-9, and Eli has not played well. And I could sort of understand it if they were benching Manning to turn to Davis Webb, who was their 3rd-round pick. He's a rookie. But to do it, to go to Geno Smith, was about the most ridiculous PR disaster that any team has faced this year, even worse than Buffalo going to Nathan Peterman and watching him throw 5 interceptions in Los Angeles. Manning has been a tremendous player for the Giants. He won 2 Super Bowl MVPs. He beat the Patriots, both of those Super Bowls. That's why he's going to go to the Hall of Fame. I've never really considered Eli a Hall of Fame type quarterback, very good quarterback. And if he hadn't won the 2 Super Bowls, I would question his Hall of Fame candidacy. But because he won those 2 games, he's probably going to get in. The point I'm making is you just don't do a guy like that the way the Giants did this week. Again, if you were going to play him, if you had a 1st-round pick waiting in the wings, like, for instance, Kansas City does with Patrick Mahomes, a lot of talk over there that they should bench Alex Smith for Patrick Mahomes. If that was the Giants situation, then I can understand it. I mean, Eli is on the decline. Like I said, he has not had a good year. He actually hasn't had the last couple of years. He hasn't been very good. So I could understand it. But to go to Geno Smith was really a travesty. Moving forward, would Buffalo be a landing spot potentially for Eli Manning? I don't think so. I don't think the Bills would go in that direction. I think you got to look at Jacksonville. Blake Bortles is still a tragedy down there. Tom Coughlin is running that team. I could very easily see Eli going down there next year, maybe for a year or two as a bridge guy to whoever their next quarterback would be. Keep an eye on Denver. You always keep an eye on Denver because John Elway has that cachet, and players like to play in Denver. It's a great place, great atmosphere. So there's another landing spot. He could follow in his brother Peyton's footsteps and go to Denver. But I don't see it happening in Buffalo. Again, they're going to draft a quarterback next year. I don't think Tyrod Taylor will be in Buffalo next year. I don't think that Peterman is the answer. So the Bills are going to draft a quarterback, and I would think it's going to be their plan if they do get the guy that they truly believe in. I think they're going to play him right away. I don't think there's going to be a bridge situation from now until the new guy comes in. So I don't think Eli will have a spot in Buffalo. Would I be against it? No, I wouldn't. If they do get a quarterback in the first round next year, I wouldn't mind seeing Eli Manning be that bridge guy until he was ready, even if it's only for half a season. I really would not be opposed to that. Eli would at least be competent. Again, I think he's lost some of his skill, but I think he would be a competent player if the Bills wanted to plug him in and be a great mentor for whoever the Bills draft pick and perhaps even Nathan Peterman. I think that would be a great role, but I just don't see it happening next year. All right, Robert Barley says it will take at least 28. Yes, it will, to win in a consistent ground game. Hopefully they can get to Brady throughout the game. Go Bills. Yep, we've covered this territory, Robert. I think it's going to take at least 30, and running game will be key. The Bills have not run the ball very well this year. It's been disappointing. Rick Dennison came in, and he changed the blocking scheme. They're a zone blocking team. I don't understand why a coordinator would take an offense that had led the league in rushing 2 years in a row with straight man blocking. The Bills were a punishing run block team. They would get Richie Incognito and Eric Wood pulling out around the tackles. They would do a good job man on man. They could push people out of the way generally. This year in the zone scheme, I just don't think it's worked for the Bills. And there's been so many games where LaShawn McCoy hasn't been able to get going. Last week, LaShawn carried 22 times for 49 yards. 10 of his carries went for, I think, 1 or 0 or negative yardage. That's not a good running game. That's really not getting the job done. It was part of the problem for why the Bills only scored 16 points in that game. They're going to have to do a much better job against the Patriots. Again, we talked earlier in the show, New England's run defense statistically not great, and I don't think they're as talented as a defense as they've been in the past, so there will be opportunities. But you question Rick Dennison changing the blocking scheme. It's one of those things where, a coach comes in and maybe you have your own system, and I understand that, but maybe you tweak things a little bit to fit the roster because the Bills had been so good for 2 years, and it just hasn't been the case here in 2017. All right, Gene Mack wants to know if the Bills lose this game, do you think they'll make the playoffs? Yeah, I mean, they have a chance. This game will not be a killer for the Bills' playoff chances. They're still right in the hunt. They'd be 6-6. Nobody in the AFC wildcard race is going to pull away from this thing. I just don't see it happening. Tennessee has the advantage right now. They're 7-4, and the Ravens and Bills are 6-5. A bunch of teams are at 5-6. Chiefs are also 6-5. So there's kind of a whole schmozzle there of teams, and one loss by the Bills to the Patriots will not blow them out of it. Like I said earlier, winning last week was critical because that got them to 6-5. If they had lost that game and lost this one, now you're 5-7, and you have to run the table, and one of those last 4 games is in New England. And then you're going to be in a world of hurt. So last week's win was key. It gave them some wiggle room this week where if they don't beat the Patriots, they're not going to be out of it by any means. The Colts are terrible. They're coming to Orchard Park. Miami's terrible. They come in the week after, and then after the Patriots game in New England, the Bills close the year in Miami. Those are 3 games I think the Bills will be favored to win, and I think really they should win all 3. That's 9 wins, and it might be enough. So, no, a loss this week will not doom them. It might make us feel bad because the Bills might get smoked. And quite frankly, even if the Bills were to get to the playoffs, I don't think they have much of a run in them. I think they'll be one of the worst teams in the playoffs should they make it. But we just want to get there, right? The Bills fans, I think, just want to get there, even if the Bills were to lose 44-0 in the first round. Just getting this 17-year playoff drought off everyone's back and starting anew in 2018 would be a huge, huge step for this team. It really would. It would be the most important thing of this first season for Sean McDermott, is just to get to the playoffs, just to get that monkey off their back, and then they can move forward. So, again, I don't think they're out of it if they lose on Sunday afternoon. All right, that looks like we've run through the questions. I have talked for 25 minutes. I think I've covered everything that I need to cover. Look, it's supposed to be a little bit windy, probably chilly on Sunday afternoon, maybe some precip, I don't know. I think the worse the weather, the better it might be for the Bills. So maybe hope for that. I'll be inside nice and warm. You guys who are going to the game probably won't appreciate it, but that might not be a bad thing for the Buffalo defense if the conditions aren't great. If it's windy especially, that could give Brady some problems. I know he's played in bad weather many times in his career, but if you've got good conditions, you really don't want to be facing Tom Brady. So a little bit of inclement weather probably wouldn't be a bad thing Sunday afternoon for the Bills. All right, so pay attention to DemocratandChronicle.com. This week I've got stories going up. My column will run on Friday Digital. I'm going to take a look at Rick Dennison and his play calling. I haven't been too impressed. I understand that he doesn't quite have the weapons, but I think he needs to do a better job at play calling. So I'm going to examine that issue in Friday's digital edition. Saturday I'll have my 3 and Out game preview. Keep an eye out for that. And as I said earlier in the show, the Saturday Digital Sunday Print, I'm taking a look back at the famous 2000 draft when Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick, and the Bills had 6 cracks at him and never thought to use one. And the one we all think about, by the way, is that 6th-round pick. He was picked 5 selections after Buffalo took defensive tackle Leif Larson, Norwegian Leif Larson, who had played football for all of 3 years before the Bills drafted him. So that's the one that we all kind of look at and say, man, what were they thinking? Why not just roll the dice on Tom Brady? But they didn't do it. The Patriots did. And here we are 17 years later, no playoffs. They have 5 Super Bowl championships. It's randomness of the draft, folks, but that's what that story is about. Saturday Digital, Sunday Print. All right, so until Sunday afternoon when I'm at Rich Stadium, Ralph Wilson Stadium, New Era Field, whatever the heck you want to call it, the Patriots have dominated there forever and ever and ever. It would be nice if the Bills could finally defend their dirt against this team. Have a great weekend, and if I see you at the stadium, don't yell at me. Take care. Have a great time.